Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 15. It's team news time. My name is Joe and as ever I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor Neil. Neil, welcome. How are you?
Not so bad, Joe. Yeah, first midweek deadline of the season, I think it is. So we've had sort of a ragtag bunch of managers and updates from the presses. Some of them we don't have yet. There's 4 games on Thursday, so we'll round up what we know there later in this video. But I think we've heard from about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Headlines now.
Managed to get most of them. Just before we go on, just a reminder, everyone, there's a 7-day free trial over at Fantasy Football Scout and the web address is on the screen, fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Head over there. So if you're not a member already, you can get access to all those stats that we use to power all our videos and podcasts and articles, which is... so you can have a look at those, especially good this week because matches are coming thick and fast. Welcome to those joining us early in the live chat. FPL Big Head, FPL Alexander, Arnold. Let's talk Vinyl, Rodrev, Ariel, Tinker, Sudip, Top Marks, Brian, Esbam, Dave, Light Rays, Alfred, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's hope we give you all the team news that you desire. Let's start with Wolves against Burnley. There was some concern about Jose Zah starting. He was subbed off Wolves' last game. Is he going to be fit for this one?
Yes, sounds very much like he will be. We might even get a heads up on that actually before the deadline tonight because I think it's the first game, isn't it? The Wolves one at 7:30. But he sounds all right. Yeah, O'Neil did his press conference yesterday and said that he'd even trained on Monday. So they expect he's all right. They won't recover Ait-Nouri. They won't recover Neto. They're both out. Mm-hmm. Not too far away. Ait-Nouri, they're hoping for the weekend. So game week 16, that'll be. Neto maybe just a little bit behind, but he's back running. So shouldn't be too long for him. They've also got Joe Hodge out. Lamina and Gomez are back from suspension, which is good for the midfield. Johnny, who's still at Wolves, actually. Yeah. He hasn't played for a long time, but he is now unavailable for selection because he's been involved in a training ground spat. We're not sure the details, but he is now, like Sancho at Man United, he's on the naughty step.
Yeah, I saw that. It was due to an internal incident. I wonder what that was. Yeah. Just a bit of handbags on the training ground.
Yeah, I think he's been involved in something before with, was it Lopetegui as well? So he's got previous for this. So, I wonder if he's kicked his last ball in a Wolves shirt. Okay,
right, yeah. Meanwhile, for Burnley, they have a key member of their defence out for this match, I understand.
Yeah, Game Week 14 hero, Jordan Bayer, if you played him, well done, because I think he got a double-digit haul last weekend. He won't be playing in Game Week 15. He's picked up his 5th booking of the season, so he's suspended for 1 match. Injury-wise, it's pretty low-key. Josh Cullen, he's joined Jack Cork on the injury list. Lyle Foster, we think, is still out because of the mental health treatment. Okay. And Muric, who's the backup goalkeeper, he's been struggling with an infection. But I think probably none of those players, bar Foster and Bayer, would have been in trouble in the starting 11 anyway.
Okay, let's move on to Luton against Arsenal. Home side first. What shape are Luton in for a tricky clash against Arsenal?
Well, they looked like they might be down at the bare bones at the back because they've had a trio of freshly flagged defenders. But it's fairly positive on those 3 players. So Mengi, Lockyer and Doughty are the names in question. Doughty missed game week 14 with a hip problem, but I think he's in contention according to Edwards. Mm-hmm. Mengi's trained as well, so positive on him. Certainly short term, even if he does miss his out tonight. Lockyer's probably the bigger doubt. He is in pain with his back. And Edwards was saying that I don't want to be carrying anyone or risking anyone going into a busy period. So he's kind of signposting it, possibly not risking him. The game will come too soon for Nakamba as well. We think Anderson, Burke and Woodrow are still out. Mm-hmm. And Lokonga is fit, but he's a loanee from Arsenal, so he can't actually play tonight.
Okay. And meanwhile, with Arsenal, we might see Ben White, I guess, in this match, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So he's been benched for the last 3 in League and Cup. Arteta was saying yesterday it was kind of fitness related. He came back from an injury, I think, over the international break. But Arteta said yes, they've been managing his workload and sort of feeling his way back in. And as it happens, one of his positional rivals, Tommy Atu, has got a potential issue of his own. Arteta couldn't say yesterday whether it was just fatigue, like muscular fatigue, or an injury. Mm-hmm. he was hopeful on it, but there was certainly no prognosis there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't risk Tomiyasu and played Ben White instead at right back. Aside from that, we're not aware of any injuries, any fresh ones.
No.
But they will be without Vieira, Partey, Timber, and Smith Rowe.
Do you think there might be some rotation here? Gabriel, Saliba, that type of thing?
Yeah, there's a risk. The one good thing is that they've got effectively three midweeks coming up, because next week is the Champions League round 6, and they've already secured top spot.
Okay.
Then the following week is the EFL Cup quarterfinals, and they're eliminated from that.
Okay.
So he has got opportunities in future to rest players. Otherwise, I would have been concerned about the likes of Gabriel, the likes of Martinelli, Jesus. I still think there will be one or two changes. White we've already mentioned as well. You could see Havertz coming back in perhaps, and maybe someone like Nketiah up top, because Jesus is just back from injury recently. He's played a lot of games for Brazil as well. So yeah, there might be one or two selections, but hopefully not the widespread rotation we fear.
Okay. Meanwhile, speaking of rotation, Brighton are up next. Brighton against Brentford. We'll come to Brentford in a sec, because their press conference news came in a bit too late for me to put up on screen. But with Brighton, they've got more injuries than any other side in the Premier League, and still losing, still conceding, but looking good. In defeat. Will they be with Matoma, though, this time out? Because he was benched last time out against Chelsea.
Sounds like he'd be in the squad anyway, but De Zerbi was saying this afternoon that they're going to assess him to see if he can start. But they'll do that tomorrow ahead of the Wednesday night game. It sounded much like it's as you will on the injury front, so obviously he's still out on March, Welbeck and Cecil Webster. It's Stupinan, Fatty and Lamptey, and then you've got the two suspended players as well, Duncan and Dahoud. Yeah. From the report which I've seen on it, it sounds like there's nothing too serious new, and it's just whether Mitoma can start, whether he's going to be an impact sub again. Yeah,
I mean, Buonanotte did really well. I mean, he's still not really more than a 60-minute man, but he could find himself starting, even if Mitoma doesn't. Adingra can fill in for Mitoma. Adingra may get a rest. I cannot believe he's still playing. He's so young, and he's playing 90 minutes every game in Europe and domestically. He must be due a rest at some point.
Yeah.
Bit of chat in the live chat about whether to remove him. Yes, he may well be benched for this one, but they play Burnley at home next. So in a way, as an owner, I hope he is benched for this one, because I'd like him to play Burnley, please. But yeah, Lewis Dunk will be a big miss, suspended there. Brentford, what's latest from Brentford? I hadn't managed to see anything yet.
Yeah, this is just in. So we'd seen some quotes from Frank, but none of them concern team news. However, that's now on the Brentford site, so I can bring you up to speed on that. Jensen is touch and go, so he's missed the last 2 games with an adductor injury. There's a chance, they're hopeful that he could be involved in some capacity. Damsgaard is available. He's been out since August, but obviously that'll be as a substitute, you'd assume. Christopher Ayer is out. He pulled out of the lineup on Saturday with a foot issue, and he's going to be out for some weeks.
Okay.
So those were the 3 that we weren't sure of, because everyone else is a known quantity. So I'll talk you through it. Hickey, Sharda, Henry, Tony, Collins all out. Norgard will be suspended, a very influential player. Good for your Adinguas and your Matomas, actually, if they start, because Norgard's a linchpin of that midfield. So he's out through suspension.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to Crystal Palace against Bournemouth. Crystal Palace, Eze was sort of almost declaring himself fit earlier in the week, but Roy Hodgson would seem to scotch that. And has he been mentioning anything else about Eze's fitness?
Yeah, he has. He said nothing's really changed on it. There was, as you say, there was some confusion about the messages they were sending out. They're going to monitor him on a day-to-day basis, but he hadn't trained as of today. So I think he's 25% flagged, because there is that tiny ray of hope that he might not actually be that badly injured, but doesn't sound like he's going to feature in this one.
Okay.
And they already have out Decore, Holden, Raksaki, Henderson, and Nathan Ferguson, of course. One player they will get back is Jeffrey Schlupp. He was out in match day 14 for personal reasons.
Right, yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, with Bournemouth as well, usually there's not much change with Bournemouth. The same again this week?
Pretty much, although Iraola did say that they've got a few illnesses and we'll have to assess them, but he said probably nothing definitive. So we still think out are Kelly, Aarons, Adams, Scott and Fredericks, and then Marconde is just back from a lengthy absence for the under-21, so probably not.
Okay. Fulham against Nottingham Forest. What shape are Fulham in for this?
Yeah, again, as much like Bournemouth, as you were. So Diop, Traore, Muniz, and Francois they're all out, but they're
Okay.
making progress. Adama's already back in training. So he is, I think, it's going to be pretty soon, but not in time for this one. And I
Okay.
think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything new.
Okay, right, and Nottingham Forest as well. Quite a few injuries seem to be picked up in the last match. What's the latest there?
Yeah, it was a bruising encounter against Everton. Some of them finished the game, but are now still doubts. So Murillo and Chris Wood, for example, they picked up injuries during the game, but finished it, and then they will now be assessed to see if there's any repercussions from that. Bolly came off at half time with, I think, hip discomfort. He'll have to be assessed as well. Danilo's still struggling with illness. So the only player who's definitely out is Awani, who's out for months and months with a groin injury. But as usual with Forest, plenty of yellow flags.
Okay.
Thanks to Cooper.
Rightio. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Sheffield United against Liverpool. So let's go for the home side first. They've got a new manager. What's he been saying about? I assume he's up to speed with all their troops now.
Well, he'll know a lot of them from his last stint, of course, won't he? From the likes of Fleck and Norwood.
Yeah.
Now he hasn't. I don't think he'd taken training by the time he took this press conference. Or at least I'm not sure about that. So I don't think we got any team news from this presser.
Okay.
This was scheduled for yesterday, and it was Heckenbottom's name on the list, and then that was cancelled. And then of course this was more of an unveiling for Wilder.
Okay.
I'll try and watch it all the way through to see if there's anything missed, but I've not seen anything reported yet on a name who a lot of managers actually own, and that's Baldock.
Okay.
So he came off against Burnley early in the game with an injury. We don't know what the latest is on him because, as I'd say, that presser was dominated by Wilder's reintroduction to Sheffield United. So we'll see if he's out. Mick Burney is out. He begins a 2-match ban. He was sent off. And we think the longer-term ones like Basham, Brewster, Davies, Egan, Jefferson, and Norrington Davies, they're all still out.
Okay. Meanwhile, with Liverpool, I'm a new Darwin owner. Obviously, loving life with owning Darwin. I'm anticipating him being benched. Is that likely?
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility. You could definitely see Gakpo coming in for one of Diaz or Darwin. So how's your luck, really? Yeah, I mean, 30 minutes off the bench against Sheffield United is nothing to be sniffed at, really, these days. Injuries, they have got one new one. It was something they picked up at the weekend. Joel Matip. He has picked up a knee injury and he's expected to be out for a while. They don't know exactly how long yet. The scans aren't back yet, but it doesn't look good according to Klopp. 2 updates on Diogo Jota and Alisson. So they're still out, but it seems pretty good. Not good if you're a Kelleher one, of course. Jota was running yesterday, so it sounded like more medium term for him, but he's already running, so it doesn't sound like he'll be back.
Okay.
Too long. Alisson's actually closer than him even, so not available for tomorrow. I think the original timeline was a doubt for this weekend, and then game week 17 was the one that we're looking at. So he might even be ahead of that. So if you got Kelleher, don't be expecting him to be in the side for that much longer.
Okay, rightio. Meanwhile, Aston Villa against Man City. There's some suspensions for this one on the Man City side. Let's go with them first because this could shape how this match pans out because they're without a couple of key players. One Aston Villa will know very well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, Jack Grealish won't be reunited at Villa Park. Him and Rodri, which I think is more of a loss, they're out. So it's pretty been well documented now. City have lost all 3 games this season without Rodri. And I'm happily starting Watkins this week, I think, based on that. And Villa's form as well at home, which is, I think, 13 matches in a row they've won at home. So Grealish and Rodri out. Pep classically couldn't tell us whether Doku was fit. So they played on Sunday, so yesterday must have been a rest day. And then they've got training this afternoon, and then they're going to talk with the doctors to see how Doku is. So we don't know about him. De Bruyne is definitely injured, of course. Nunez was last Friday described as weeks or days away, so again, a doubt. John Stones is fit, though. He's been on the bench for the last 3, unused. But Pep said this afternoon he's ready. He's ready now. He's ready last game.
Right.
And he's someone who could come into the side either as an inverted centre-half or as a bona fide 6.
Okay. Meanwhile, Aston Villa, how are they set up for this?
Yeah, they're looking stronger because they've got Kamara back from suspension, so they're in pretty good nick, really. I think the only players who are definitely out are Mings and Buendia, who are the long-term ones.
Yeah.
Possibly Bertrand Traore as well, but he's seldom troubling the team these days. The only other line from Emery today was that some players are tired, have small pains, but he thinks they're all going to be available. They've played, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, so it's tight turnaround. There might be some changes. You think Cash might be brought back in for this one.
Yeah.
GRB too, perhaps.
Yeah.
But injury-wise, they're looking in pretty good health.
Okay. Meanwhile, Manchester United, Chelsea. Manchester United's press conference. A few journalists have been banned from these press conferences now. Obviously, banning the press always goes down well, and signals a long and lengthy career for Ten Hag at Manchester United, I imagine. But what has he been saying to the few journalists that were actually there?
Well, he didn't say anything on team news in his press conference. Thankfully, we've had an update since then on the website, and he's been talking to MUTV. So he says that Evans, Mount, Ericsson, they listed Mount twice. So bad they've named him twice on the website. They are positives, he said, but they're not back in the squad. So it's going to be more or less the same group of players who flopped at Newcastle.
Right.
Longer term, of course, are Martinez, Malacia, and Casemiro. Sancho's on the naughty step. There was a quote about possible rotation. So Shaw and Mainu were the two mentioned, and he said it's a selection of players have to prove themselves. Blah blah blah. Yeah, but I think we can pick the team, so we have a choice. That's absolutely no use.
Yeah,
that doesn't answer any questions. Yeah. But obviously the risk of rotation, as there is with a lot of teams this week.
Tiger in the live chat wonders if you've been banned as well from the Manchester United press office. From the press conference.
Asking too many questions about the injuries.
Yeah.
That was all I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Every week.
Meanwhile, Chelsea. I don't think they've banned anyone so far. What shape are they in for this? They'll be rubbing their hands with glee, I think, for this one.
Yeah. Pochettino was asked about actually if it's a good time, and of course he played it with a straight back, but secretly he must be thinking, yes, this is a brilliant time to play Man United. They've got two players back from suspension, so that's good. That's Reece James and Cucurella. But it's pretty bad news elsewhere. So Gallagher begins a one-match ban. Chilwell, Fofana, Chalobah, Chukwuemeka, Gusto already on the injury list. Two more injuries to report. Madueke and Ogachukwu, they're now out. Lavia and Nkunku aren't back yet either. They're in training, but Pochettino's ruled them out of this one. So that's, what is that? That is, I think that's double figures for red flags going into the weekend. But they do get the two of the fullbacks back at least.
Yeah. Jeremy just joined in the live chat. He lives very near me, and he was commenting on the weather here. It was absolutely raining all day, and half the area was flooded. So good job. There's no football matches in the fields between around Glastonbury area because they'll be underwater. Everton against Newcastle next. Now there's no pre-deadline press conference, but there is a smattering of insight into what's happening there. So let's go with Everton first. What's sort of the latest there that we know of?
Yeah, the first of four teams, so we don't have a press conference roundup for you because they'll be taking place tomorrow after the deadline. But Dyche did provide us with something earlier in the week. He said that he was hopeful on Calvert-Lewin. He was touch and go for game week 14.
Okay.
And they didn't risk him because of his track record of getting re-injured. So he did say as long as he's come through this weekend's training, he's got a good chance for Newcastle. Or later in the week, he said. Okay. We assumed that meant game week 15. So they're hopeful on him. Onana looks unlikely though, because of that recurring calf issue, and then Dele and Andre Gomez are still out as well.
Okay. Meanwhile, with Newcastle, big news actually in goal for them on the injury front, but also some concern about some of their other players, particularly those that are well owned or perhaps could be well owned, like Botman.
Yeah, quite a lot of report actually, because as I say, nothing from Howe today. That'll be tomorrow. But we did get footage of the training on Sky Sports News this morning. I was watching it myself, and lo and behold, Anthony Gordon's mush popped across my screen.
Okay.
So it sounds like it looks like he's all right. He was involved in training. He came off against Man United with hip discomfort, according to Eddie Howe. He hoped he was all right, and this was just after full time. Of course, they couldn't give me a prognosis then. But he was spotted in training this morning, so that's good. Someone who wasn't in training was Trippier, but Sky Sports News again, they were on site and they said that there was no major concerns there, that he was getting treatment indoors. That's not uncommon for players to do that in between games. Callum Wilson gets that often.
Yeah.
And other clubs as well. We've seen in the past in Liverpool when players have been absent, it's just that they've been indoors getting, a rub down or something, like specialist treatment. So hopefully that's good news on Trippier as well. Not good news on Nick Pope. So nothing from Howe yet because he hasn't had his presser, but media reports suggesting he's going to be out for 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
With his dislocated shoulder, something he's done before when he was at Burnley. So hence why Dubravka's getting all those transfers.
Yes.
I think he's probably the most popular of the week.
Yep.
His price has already gone up, but he's still a bargain at 4 million. Botman, I'll give you an update on him. He was, according to Athletic, he was scheduled to resume training this week. They said Monday. I assume that meant this week.
Okay.
I couldn't see him this morning. I did have a brief glance round. It was hard to spot because it was sort of middle distance.
Yeah.
But I know Newcastle silhouettes well enough to not see Botman. So hopefully that's a bit of a stay of execution for Lascelles.
Okay.
So the players who are still out, we think, are Barnes, Murphy, Anderson, Target, Byrne, Tonali, Manquillo, Willock, Wilson, Longstaff, and we think Botman as well, and Pope.
Okay, and finally, Tottenham, West Ham. Once again, no press conferences, but we do have some idea of players that may be returning or are being a problem.
Yeah, the only issues here is there's anything fresh that wasn't obvious at the time. So we have got a rough idea. Spurs are going to be without Maddison, Van der Ven, Solomon, Perisic, Sessegnon, Phillips, Bentancur as well. It might be too soon for Sarr as well. I think Postecoglou said last Friday that he would hopefully be back in the next couple of weeks. So might be too soon. Dyer was out this weekend as well. He pulled up in training. Wouldn't have trouble to start in 11 now anyway because they've got Romero back from suspension. So he comes straight back in at centre-half. And he got Richarlison back at the weekend as well. He made a swift return from pelvic surgery. He was on the bench against Man City and came on, I think. So he's now threatening the likes of Johnson, I suppose, and probably more Johnson because I think Kulusevski and Son are pretty nailed at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you are a Johnson owner, just be aware that Richarlison's fit now.
Okay. Meanwhile, with West Ham, there was some concern that Jared Bowen wouldn't start the last match. He did, but he wasn't that effective for FPL managers or West Ham themselves. But what is the latest, if there is any, from West Ham?
Yeah, I can't tell you anything this week because, as you say, Moyes hasn't done his presser yet. But yeah, he recovered. So I think the only player on the injury list last weekend was Antonio, who I think's on target for a return later this month. Zuma wasn't involved. It wasn't injury. It was now well documented personal reasons. His house had been the target of a robbery on the eve of the game, I think it was. So, and he was in the house. So I think obviously he wasn't going to be involved in that one. So there's a chance he could be back for Thursday night if all is well off the pitch. But that's all I can tell you in terms of team.
That's obviously I don't want to take away anything. That's an awful thing to happen to anyone. But I did think was it a cat burglar going through my head there? But then I pulled back, even though I've just said it.
Yeah.
But
it's right on the line.
That's right on the line, and I shouldn't have done
on the VAR.
But I had to. Yeah, I had to. Team news roundup. Couldn't resist.
Yes.
Fit to play, Doughty. Sarr is back for Wolves. Jeffrey Schlupp is fine for Crystal Palace. Meanwhile, questionable. Bolly is going to be an issue there. And Chris Wood and Morello, they're issues for Nottingham Forest. Lockyer, Tomiyasu with his muscle injury, and Gordon is hit, but he has been seen in training, so he's probably more in the fit to play than questionable. And Calvert-Lewin, Matoma, and Doku are all questionable at the moment. So we're not 100% that they're going to start. Major doubts. Botman back in training, we think, but wasn't seen in training. And so we haven't had that press conference. So at the moment, he has to be a major doubt. Not totally ruled out, and certainly a bit more doubt than questionable. Antonio got hamstring issues. I just put him in there just because, just to reiterate that he's not there. So that could mean that Bowen starts up front again. Could be good for Kudos's minutes. And Traore at Aston Villa is a problem with his injury there. He's probably out there. 8 Nori, ankle problems going to keep him out. So Johnny, disciplinary issues will keep him out. Bayer's suspended, quite a few suspended this week. Nick Pope has got his dislocated shoulder, we think, according to press reports. So that's going to keep him out for a number of months. That's why everyone's getting Dubravka in suddenly. Nick Pope, with that shoulder injury there. Rodri suspended, Grealish suspended, Sarr's got a knock, probably going to keep him out. Matip, an injury there for Liverpool, could be out for some time. Dunk is suspended for this one. Eze's ankle injury, he's, despite thinking he's going to come back, he's not come back for this one. And Nkunku is still not around for Chelsea there, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer to get him going. And meanwhile, Gallagher at Chelsea is suspended. I think I've got most there, so good luck, everyone, with the game week. What's the deadline? It's 6 o'clock, isn't it, tonight?
6, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a mere hours away. So good luck with that. Good luck with the game week. And we'll be back again later in the week for game week 16. The game's coming thick and fast. Neil, good luck with the game week. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, bye-bye.